You explain what a night logger is.
Yes.
A story editor, we all know reality isn't reality. And is that, you can confirm that, right?
I can confirm that. Yes.
Okay.
There are some shows that are more reality based, and then the majority of them are soft scripted.
Okay. So the stuff you did as a story editor.
Yes.
What did you do? Did you actually come up with the story, or did you just take what you had and form it?
Depends.
Okay.
On Chef Academy, that was a little more, because it was like a Top Chef.
Okay.
But it was this French chef, Chef Novelli. He was Italian. Anyways. So that was a little more of a competition. So that they just filmed a lot of footage, and you, as a story producer, would take those and find an A line, a B line, a B story, and kind of put that together with the editors.
Okay.
But on a show like Big Rich Texas, which I did for Style Network, which went 3 seasons.
Wow.
That was called soft scripted.
Okay.
And so you would go and you would script out with the other story producers and the executive producer on cards the entire season.
Okay.
Right? Like, so this person, they're best friends, and then they get a fight over this, and then they end up at this event at the country club, and then they throw cake in the face, and then blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But what ends up happening, this is what was fascinating, you have to be very agile, because you would say, they really are good friends. And then they'd be like, okay, before you run, this is where you guys fight about X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. They would fight about improv. Mm-hmm. Well, then they'd really get pissed off at each other, right? They'd say things they shouldn't say. So you say, okay, in this episode, you guys make up. They'd be like, fuck her. I'm not making up with that bitch. So then you have to pivot. You're like, they don't make up. So it's like, is it the cart or the horse type thing?
Okay.
Interesting.
And then you're also, as a story producer, working very tightly with the editors, which I love because my dad was an editor. I just love being in the Bay. Mm-hmm. You do what's called a string out. So you're working on Avid or Adobe Premiere. You're taking all the footage and you're doing, say, maybe a 10-minute string out of the footage for a scene.
And that's hard to do.
I loved it.
Well,
but yes. And then the editor takes that 10 minutes and has to put it into 3.
Wow. Okay.
And you're picking the best takes and what you kind of think the flow of the scene is. And then these editors, which, the experts at what they do, obviously. And then you're also writing bites. So, when they'll cut to basically a scenario like this and they're sitting there and they're commenting on what you're seeing.
Right.
In my experience, those are all written.
And when do they film those? Are the people watching the scenes? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're actually watching
either
what's
watching it,
happening.
they'll either show them a clip or they'll tell them.
Okay.
Or since it's soft scripted, they know what's happened.
Sure. Okay.
And what would happen is you would say, I didn't like being on the set with them. A lot of story producers like to go and if it was your episode, sit there with them and say, okay, now this line you're going to say, she was such a bitch. I wanted to slap her. I didn't like doing that because they would get I would never say that. They would get, which I get. You don't want words put in your mouth, but you have to get this bite to make it work, right? So you as a story producer, but you got to say that because that's what
otherwise
makes it work.
my story is predicated on this.
So you would say, well, what would you say? And then it's never quite as quippy or funny.
Right.
Now I imagine the people who've done it for years and years, like a Housewives show that's gone on for 8-10 years, they become pros and they just do their own thing. They've got their own personality.
Right.
But yeah, it was.
Interesting.
I actually love reality TV.
Can we be friends? Can we be